Shaquille O'Neal is a 4-time NBA champion, a Hall of Famer, and one of the most dominant players of all time. But he's also got to be the biggest hater in the basketball space. And not just because he's a 7-foot-tall giant, but because he hates on literally everybody, whether you did something to him or not. From hating on other bigs, to knocking down up-and-comers, to randomly throwing shade at someone who didn't deserve it whatsoever. And although sometimes it is just friendly banter, most of the time it's definitely not. I'm just focusing on his off-the-court days too. I'm not even gonna go deep into the fact that he used to chase around rookies naked and dump buckets of pee on them. Yeah, let alone the countless other stories that have come out about his playing days over the years. Since Shaq is retired, he's done very little to actually try to grow the game and instead has been solely focused on growing his ego. Then when he does have a chance to compliment a player and put them over, he can't. Like when he told 24-year-old Donovan Mitchell to his face that he doesn't have what it takes to reach the next level, or when he told Jokic to his face that he didn't deserve his 3rd MVP instead of just congratulating him. For someone that has all the basketball experience in the world and gets paid millions to cover the sport, he's as casual as it gets, all while being the biggest bully that there is. If someone else is doing good, then he'll knock them down while propping himself up, or he'll just take shots at them every chance he gets for no reason. And if you respond to him and call him out, then he'll only target you even more. You can look up any player's name and add Shaq at the end, and odds are you'll find him taking a shot at them. It's gotten to the point where it doesn't seem like he enjoys basketball whatsoever, yet continues to go through the motions and uses every topic to talk about why he doesn't like it. The reason I wanted to talk about this was because just a few weeks ago, he said on a podcast that if Rudy Gobert makes the Hall of Fame, then he will wear a dress. Which, first of all, wouldn't even be the first time he's worn a dress, and it honestly sounds like he just wants another excuse to wear one. Because whether you like Rudy Gobert or not, the man is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year and has made the All-Defensive First Team 7 times. He's almost guaranteed to be a Hall of Famer, and that's the guy you choose to say that about? I actually used to be a huge fan of Shaq for years, but as time has gone on, I've started to question him more and more. This is nothing new though, he's always hated Rudy Gobert, but honestly, so have a lot of people. The only difference is that the other people that don't like him aren't NBA Hall of Famers with an absolutely massive platform. He's publicly said that Rudy didn't deserve his contract extension with the Wolves. He said that Rudy doesn't dominate in the paint on offense while completely disregarding what he does on defense. Then when he does have a good game offensively, Shaq comes up with every excuse in the book. There was also an instance where Rudy was crying after not being named an All-Star because his mom flew all the way from France to see him make it. So of course he felt heavily disappointed, and instead of having any type of sympathy, Shaq decided to have a field day. And then to top it all off, he called Rudy the worst player of all time. Shaq has been trying to bully him for years, while Rudy literally did nothing to him. He even has the audacity to say he says the things he does to motivate them, but come on, everybody knows he does it to boost his ego. And we know this because he had the exact same hatred towards Dwight Howard over 15 years ago. That one-sided beef started all the way back in 2008 when Dwight started calling himself Superman, which is the nickname that Shaq used for a while. It's not like there was malicious intent with it either, it just fit his playstyle because of his high-flying dunks. And of course, Shaq had a massive problem with that and started targeting him from there on. Shaq would criticize every little thing that Dwight would do. And I mean every little thing he would do. Like when he said Dwight has a weak offensive game and doesn't dominate the post, which sounds awfully familiar. Anyways, he would also go on to say that Brook Lopez was a better center. Let me remind you that Dwight was coming off 3 straight Defensive Player of the Year awards and was top 5 in MVP voting 4 years in a row. Shaq said that for no reason, and while people in the media say stupid stuff like that all the time now, back then it wasn't as acceptable. So when he started to face the backlash, he played victim and of course said that the only reason he said those things was to try to motivate him, which honestly could possibly sound believable if he didn't spend the last 4 years hating on the man every chance he got. I mean, he was hating on him 10 years later when Dwight won a championship with the Lakers. Shaq said that he didn't deserve the ring and called him a ring chaser, even though Dwight was actually a really solid big coming off the bench and started in 8 of their 17 playoff games. To say that he didn't deserve it is just dumb. That that doesn't even scratch the surface with all the negative things he said about Dwight over the years. If I brought up every time he hated on him, then this video would be like 3 hours long. Shaq was even hating on him when he was playing in Taiwan, saying that he should be dominating. Mind you, Dwight was averaging 23 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 assists a game at 37 years old. But they are not the only people that Shaq has tried to bully throughout their entire career. Javale McGee has a very similar story. In 2011, Shaq created a segment on NBA TV called Shaqtin' a Fool, which is still going to this day, but has somewhat lost the plot. It was an absolutely hilarious segment that highlighted all the bloopers and lowlights around the league. However, Javale became a target for Shaq very quickly. Don't get me wrong, at the beginning of his career, Javale didn't do himself any favors. He had more hilarious bloopers than anyone in the league by far. But Shaq was taking it a bit too far and started treating him like a complete joke, even though he really wasn't a bad player. Javale would win Shaqtin' a Fool MVP for the show's first 2 seasons and nicknamed him Tragic Bronson. Some of the lowlights were bad, and it's okay to point them out and laugh, but Shaq was doing way more than just that. Instead of Javale being able to learn from his mistakes and continue to grow, he was simply known as a blooper because he's getting made fun of on national TV on a daily basis. Then a few years later, Javale publicly showed his frustrations at the show and said that it was literally ruining his reputation. So what did Shaq do? He had a whole Shaqtin' a Fool segment dedicated to all of Javale's lowlights. That led to them having a huge back and forth on Twitter where Shaq kept calling him a bum. Multiple of Javale's family members were involved, and it just wasn't a good look for anybody all around, especially because a lot of people were siding with Javale, saying that Shaq has been taking it too far for years. Again, just like Rudy and Dwight, Javale didn't actually do anything to him, yet he would take shots at him every chance he got. Basically, if you're a center in the NBA, then Shaq does not like you. He's been making fun of Joel Embiid for years, calling him soft every chance he gets. He made fun of Hassan Whiteside for years while he was in the league, saying all sorts of different things. He made fun of Porzingis, saying yet again he doesn't dominate in the paint, and also made fun of him for missing games due to knee soreness this season after tearing his ACL. And not to mention, he called Jusuf Nurkic soft for considering pressing charges against Draymond Green after Draymond punched him in the face during a game. Except Nurkic never said that at all, and the whole story was completely made up. I could keep going too, this entire video is only scratching the surface. This isn't just a center thing though either, he's made fun of plenty of players at other positions as well. He's made fun of Ben Simmons and James Harden for a million different things, and he critiqued Curry for years and still thinks that he wouldn't be dominant in his era despite calling him one of the greatest players ever. And again, I could keep going with the weird stuff he says on a daily basis, whether that's over the internet, on a podcast, or on his show Inside the NBA, which like I said is a show I really used to love. The lightheartedness and banter was really funny and unique. However, as sports media began to decline and everybody started saying the stupidest stuff on TV, it began to lose its touch for me. They were the halftime and post-game show for some of the biggest games in the NBA, and over the years it became pretty clear that almost none of them were actually watching the game that they were covering. It felt like they made it more about them than the actual game, and if they were talking about it, it would always be the most generic stuff imaginable. Instead, they used that time to dunk on the players that they didn't like and would bring up topics that quite literally had nothing to do with the game. I mean, what other show could have multiple segments where Shaq has to guess which players are on which teams and somehow still gets the most obvious ones wrong? And although they would have some funny moments, especially with Charles Barkley, it just wasn't the same for me. Instead of using his platform to grow the game and spread at least some kind of positivity, he's been the most negative person in the NBA space. And after hearing some of the stories about his playing days, it makes me think that this is just who he's always been. And while he has plenty of funny moments and has done a lot of good in this world, it seems like he's done equally as much bad. At the end of the day, he picks and chooses who he likes and who he doesn't, like we all do. But with the platform Shaq has, you would think he'd take more advantage of it. And for all the kids that have grown up or are growing up right now, they mostly know Shaq for being a hater more than they know him for being the most dominant player of all time, which is honestly a pretty sad reality. But let me know what you guys think about Shaq in the comments, and please leave a like to support the channel. Also, subscribe if you're new for more basketball videos just like this one.